KLTV is your election news leader. Governor Greg Abbott was in East Texas today making a re-election campaign stop in Canton. People packed Ochoa Cafe to hear the governor talk about his plans going into his potential fourth term if he's reelected. Today he spoke on topics like the border wall and data centers, but the main topic of discussion was his reported property tax relief plan.
None of you, nor anybody else in the entire state of Texas, has come up to me and said, "Hey, Governor, I'm perfectly happy with my property tax bill." Because you're not. Your property taxes should never go up without you having a say in the matter.
Some aspects of the plan include requiring local spending limits, votes to change property taxes, putting a cap on appraisal growth, and taking away school property taxes for homeowners. Governor Abbott was met with mostly positive reactions. However, there were some people there who were protesting AI data centers. They were outside. Governor Abbott will make another stop in East Texas tomorrow in Bullard.